Maya had always been good at reading people. Friends would joke that she could tell what someone was thinking just by looking at their face. But what happened on her 28th birthday changed everything she thought she knew about herself. She worked at a busy restaurant downtown, the kind of place where business people came for lunch and couples had dinner dates. Maya had been serving tables there for 3 years, and she thought she knew all the tricks of the trade: how to spot a good tipper, which customers would be difficult, who was on a first date versus who had been married for years. But that Tuesday night in March, something felt different. The restaurant was packed as usual, and Maya was rushing between tables when she noticed something strange. She could sense what people wanted before they even opened their mouths. Not just their food orders, but their real thoughts and feelings died at table 6. A woman was smiling at her husband, but Maya could somehow feel that she was actually thinking about her personal trainer. The woman wasn't saying anything, but Maya could sense her mind wandering to someone else entirely. At table 12, a man was nodding along to his date's story, but Maya could tell he was thinking about how he wanted to end the evening early. At first, Maya thought she was just having a really good night at work. Maybe she was finally getting the hang of reading body language and facial expressions. But as the evening went on, the feelings became stronger and clearer. She wasn't just guessing anymore. She was actually picking up on people's hidden thoughts. The moment that changed everything happened around 9 o'clock. A couple at table 4 was having what looked like a normal conversation about their weekend plans. But Maya could feel something else entirely. The man was thinking about his co-worker, imagining scenarios that had nothing to do with weekend plans. The woman was thinking about her ex-boyfriend, wondering what he was doing that night. Maya stood there with her notepad, pretending to take their drink order, but she was actually experiencing their private thoughts. It was like tuning into a radio station that nobody else could hear. The thoughts weren't her own, but she could feel them as clearly as if they were. She excused herself and went to the bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her hands were shaking slightly. This couldn't be real. People don't just suddenly develop the ability to read minds. But when she went back to the dining room, it happened again and again. The elderly man at table 2 was thinking about a woman he met at the grocery store. The young couple at table 8 were both thinking about other people while holding hands across the table. The businessman at the bar was imagining scenarios with the hostess while pretending to check his phone. Maya realized that what she was experiencing wasn't just random thoughts. She was picking up on people's most private desires and attractions. The thoughts that people would never say out loud. The feelings they kept hidden even from their closest friends and family. As the night went on, Maya found herself drawn to these hidden thoughts like a moth to flame. There was something thrilling about knowing what people really wanted, what they were really thinking behind their polite smiles and normal conversations. She began to understand that most people were living double lives, keeping their true feelings buried deep inside. She started paying closer attention to couples on dates. She could sense when someone was attracted to their server instead of their date. She could tell when people were lying about being single or married. She could feel the difference between genuine interest and polite conversation. By the end of her shift, Maya was exhausted but also strangely excited. She had discovered something about human nature that most people never get to see. Everyone around her was thinking thoughts they would never admit, having feelings they would never share, imagining scenarios they would never act on. The next morning, Maya woke up wondering if it had all been her imagination. Maybe she had just been tired and stressed. But when she went to get coffee at her usual cafe, it happened again. The barista was thinking about the customer ahead of her in line. The woman ordering a latte was thinking about her neighbor. The man reading a newspaper was thinking about someone from his yoga class. Maya realized that this wasn't going away. Whatever had happened to her, it was real and it was permanent. She had somehow gained access to the most private part of human experience, the thoughts and desires that people kept locked away from the world. Over the next few days, Maya began to test her new ability. She discovered that it worked best when she was close to people, usually within a few feet. She also noticed that the thoughts she picked up were often related to attraction, desire. In relationships, it was as if she was tuned into a specific frequency of human consciousness. She found herself becoming fascinated by the contradiction between what people said and what they actually thought. The world she had always known suddenly felt like a stage where everyone was playing a role, hiding their true selves behind masks of politeness and social convention. Maya began to realize that her life would never be the same. She had been given a gift that allowed her to see through the surface of human interaction, straight into the hidden world of private thoughts and secret desires. The question was, what would she do with this knowledge? Maya couldn't sleep for 3 days after discovering her strange new ability. Every time she closed her eyes, she thought about all the hidden thoughts she had picked up from customers at the restaurant. It felt like she had been given a key to a secret room that everyone else pretended didn't exist. She decided she needed to figure out exactly how this thing worked. Was it really happening? Or was she just imagining it all? The only way to know for sure was to test it properly. The next evening at work, Maya chose her first subject carefully. A regular customer named Alex came in every Thursday night and always sat at the same table. He was polite, tipped well, and seemed like a normal guy. But Maya had always sensed there was more to him than he showed. When Alex ordered his usual burger and fries, Maya focused her attention on him. Within seconds, she could feel his thoughts drifting to the new waitress who had started working there last week. He was wondering if she was single, imagining asking her out, thinking about what she might say. None of this showed on his face, but Maya could sense it all clearly. To test if she was right, Maya casually mentioned that the new waitress was really friendly and seemed to love her job. Alex's face lit up immediately, and he started asking questions about her. Maya knew she was onto something real. Over the next few weeks, Maya became like a detective, testing her ability on different people in different situations. She learned that her gift worked best when she was relaxed and focused. If she was stressed or distracted, the thoughts became fuzzy and hard to understand. She also discovered that some people's thoughts were louder than others. Confident people seemed to think more clearly, while shy people had quieter, more jumbled thoughts. People who were attracted to someone nearby had the strongest signals of all. Maya started experimenting during her lunch breaks. She would sit in the park across from her apartment and practice reading the thoughts of joggers, dog walkers, and people eating lunch. She learned that most people spent way more time thinking about relationships and attraction than she had ever imagined. The young woman who jogged past every day was always thinking about her ex-boyfriend. The man who walked his dog was constantly noticing attractive women and wondering about their lives. The couple who ate lunch on the same bench every day were both thinking about other people. While sitting right next to each other, Maya realized that she was seeing a side of human nature that most people never talked about. Everyone seemed to have a whole world of private thoughts and desires that they kept completely hidden from the outside world. She began to feel like she was watching a movie where she could see the real story while everyone else only saw what was happening on the surface. When people smiled and made small talk, she could sense what they were really thinking underneath. At work, Maya found herself becoming more confident. She could tell which customers were having relationship problems, who was interested in someone else, and who was lying about their personal life. This knowledge made her feel powerful in a way she had never experienced before. She started using her ability to become a better server. If she sensed that someone was having a bad day because of relationship issues, she would be extra kind and attentive. If she could tell that someone was on a first date and nervous, she would give them a little extra time to look at the menu. Her tips started getting bigger. Customers began requesting her section specifically. Her manager noticed that people seemed to really connect with her, though he couldn't figure out why. Maya discovered that her gift worked differently depending on what people were thinking about. Thoughts about attraction and relationships came through the clearest. Thoughts about work or family were harder to pick up. It was like she was tuned into a specific channel of human consciousness. She also learned that she could turn the ability on and off to some extent if she concentrated hard on something else, like memorizing the daily specials or doing math in her head. The thoughts would fade into the background, but if she relaxed and opened her mind, they would come flooding back. The most surprising thing Maya discovered was how much she enjoyed having this secret knowledge. There was something thrilling about knowing what people really wanted, what they were really thinking when they thought no one was watching. It made her feel like she understood human nature in a way that other people couldn't. She began to look forward to her shifts at work, excited to see what new insights she would discover about the customers. Each person who walked through the door was like a book she could read, full of hidden stories and secret desires. Maya started keeping a mental journal of the most interesting thoughts she picked up. The businessman who came in every Friday was thinking about his secretary. The woman who ordered salads was always thinking about her personal trainer. The couple who had been married for 20 years were both thinking about people they had met online. She realized that almost everyone was living a double life to some extent. They had their public face that they showed to the world, and their private thoughts that they kept locked away inside their minds. Maya had somehow gained access to both sides of this human equation. As the weeks passed, Maya became more and more fascinated by her ability. She felt like she was conducting a secret study of human behavior, learning things about people that psychologists and researchers could only guess at. The question was, what would she do with all this knowledge? After 2 months of testing her ability, Maya had become an expert at reading people's hidden thoughts. What started as curiosity had turned into something much more powerful. She no longer just observed what people were thinking. She had begun to use that knowledge to her advantage. It started small. When Maya sensed that a customer was thinking about their ex-partner, she would casually mention something about moving on or finding happiness. The customer would look surprised and grateful, as if she had read their mind. They would leave bigger tips and often come back specifically asking for her section. Maya realized she had accidentally become the restaurant's unofficial therapist. People felt comfortable talking to her because she seemed to understand them in a way that others couldn't. What they didn't know was that she was literally reading their minds before they even spoke. Her confidence grew with each successful interaction. She began to feel like she had a superpower that made her better than everyone else, while other servers struggled to connect with difficult customers. Maya could sense exactly what was bothering them and adjust her approach accordingly. One evening, a couple came in for what was obviously a tense dinner. The woman was upset about something, and the man looked uncomfortable. Maya could immediately sense that the woman suspected her partner of being interested in someone else. She was right. The man was thinking about a coworker the entire time. Instead of just serving them quietly, Maya found herself subtly steering their conversation. She mentioned how important trust was in relationships and how lucky couples were when they could be completely honest with each other. The woman nodded along. While the man shifted uncomfortably in his seat, Maya felt a rush of power. She was affecting their relationship just by knowing what they were really thinking. It was like being the director of a play while also being one of the actors. She started paying attention to couples on dates throughout the restaurant. She could tell when someone was lying about being single, when they were thinking about someone else, or when they were planning to end the relationship. This secret knowledge made her feel like she was watching a fascinating drama unfold every single night. Maya began to enjoy the game of it all. She would position herself near tables where she could pick up the most interesting thoughts. She discovered that people's minds were full of secrets, desires, and feelings that they would never admit to anyone. The businessman who came in every week was thinking about 3 different women, none of whom was his wife. The college student who studied at table 12 was more interested in the guy at table 5 than in her textbooks. The elderly couple who seemed so happy together were both thinking about people they had known decades ago. Maya started keeping mental notes about regular customers. She knew who was having relationship problems, who was interested in someone new, and who was lying about their personal life. This knowledge made her feel powerful and important. She began to use her insights more boldly. If she sensed that the single customers were attracted to each other, she would find ways to seat them near each other or create opportunities for them to interact. She felt like a matchmaker with inside information. One night, Maya noticed a woman dining alone who kept glancing at a man at the bar. She could sense that the woman was interested, but too shy to approach him. Maya also picked up that the man was thinking about the woman, but assumed she wasn't interested. Maya decided to play Cupid. She casually mentioned to the woman that the man at the bar seemed friendly and had been coming in alone for weeks. Then she told the man that the woman at table 6 had asked about the wine he was drinking. Within an hour, they were sharing a table and exchanging phone numbers. Maya felt incredible. She had actually changed people's lives just by knowing what they were thinking. The power was intoxicating. She wasn't just observing human behavior anymore. She was influencing it. Her success gave her confidence to try bigger experiments. She started visiting other restaurants and bars on her nights off, treating the entire city like her personal laboratory. She would sit at coffee shops, stand in line at stores, and walk through crowded areas, constantly picking up on people's private thoughts. Maya discovered that her ability worked everywhere, not just at her job. The grocery store was full of people thinking about others while shopping for their families. The gym was packed with people having thoughts about other members. Even the library had people whose minds were wandering to romantic possibilities. She began to feel like she was the only person who truly understood how the world really worked. Everyone else was living on the surface, making polite conversation and following social rules. But Maya could see the real story underneath, the desires, attractions, and secrets that drove human behavior. The thrill of knowing everyone's secrets became addictive. Maya found herself seeking out crowded places just to experience the rush of reading multiple minds at once. She felt like she had access to a hidden world that ordinary people couldn't even imagine. But with great power came great temptation. Maya started to wonder what else she could do with her ability. If she could influence people's love lives, what other aspects of their behavior could she control? The possibilities seemed endless, and Maya was eager to explore them all. She was about to discover that some powers come with consequences she never saw coming. Maya's newfound power had completely changed how she saw the world. What started as a curious gift had become an obsession. She was no longer content with just knowing what people were thinking. She wanted to control what happened next. The first time she really crossed a line, Maya didn't even realize she was doing it. A regular customer named David came in every Tuesday with his wife. They seemed like a happy couple. But Maya could sense something was wrong. The wife was thinking about her yoga instructor, while David was thinking about a woman from his office. Maya found herself fascinated by their situation. Here were two people sitting across from each other, pretending to be happy, while both were secretly interested in other people. She wondered what would happen if she gave them a little push in the right direction. Over the next few weeks, Maya began dropping small hints. She would mention to David's wife how important it was to pursue personal interests and hobbies. She would tell David about other customers who had found happiness. By being more honest about their feelings, she was planting seeds without them even knowing it. The couple started coming in less frequently. When they did show up, Maya could sense that their relationship was getting more strained. Part of her felt guilty, but a bigger part felt excited. She was like a scientist watching her experiment unfold in real time. Maya's behavior at work became more bold and reckless. She started manipulating situations more openly. If she sensed that someone was unhappy in their relationship, she would find ways to introduce them to other customers who might be interested. She felt like she was helping people find their true desires. Her friends began to notice changes in her behavior. During conversations, Maya would make comments that seemed to come out of nowhere, but were exactly what people were thinking. She would bring up topics that hit too close to home or ask questions that felt too personal. Her best friend Lisa started feeling uncomfortable around her. During their weekly coffee dates, Maya would make observations about Lisa's dating life that felt invasive and strange. How did Maya know that Lisa was thinking about her ex-boyfriend? How did she know about Lisa's crush on her coworker? Maya couldn't help herself. Being around people without using her ability felt like watching TV with the sound turned off. She had become addicted to the rush of knowing everyone's secrets. Regular conversations felt boring and meaningless compared to the rich inner world she could access through people's thoughts. She started spending more time in crowded places, feeding off the constant stream of private thoughts around her. Shopping malls, busy coffee shops, and crowded bars became her favorite hunting grounds. She would sit for hours, picking up fragments of people's mental lives like collecting pieces of a puzzle. Maya discovered that her ability worked differently in different settings, in romantic environments like restaurants or bars. People's thoughts were more focused on attraction and relationships. In stressful places like airports or hospitals, their thoughts were more scattered and emotional. She learned to read these different mental landscapes like a map. The power started affecting her personal relationships in ways she hadn't expected. When she went on dates, Maya would automatically start reading her date's thoughts. She would know if they were attracted to her, if they were thinking about someone else, or if they were planning to see her again. Dating became less about getting to know someone and more about confirming what she already knew. Maya realized that her ability was making it impossible for her to have normal relationships. She always knew too much too soon. There was no mystery, no gradual discovery, no excitement of wondering what someone was really thinking. She could read their minds like an open book. Her isolation grew worse when she discovered that some people seemed to sense something unusual about her. They would feel uncomfortable in her presence without knowing why. Maya realized that her constant mental probing was probably affecting people in ways she didn't understand. At work, Maya's behavior became increasingly problematic. She would make customers uncomfortable by knowing things about them that they hadn't shared. She would insert herself into their personal situations in ways that felt intrusive and wrong. One evening, everything came to a head. A married couple came in for dinner, and Maya could immediately sense that the husband was thinking about ending their marriage. Instead of just observing, she found herself actively encouraging these thoughts. She made comments about how life was too short to be unhappy, how people deserved to follow their hearts. The wife seemed confused by Maya's comments, but the husband was nodding along. Maya felt powerful watching her words influence his thoughts. She was no longer just reading minds. She was actively shaping people's decisions about their lives. Later that night, Maya overheard the couple arguing in the parking lot. The husband was saying things that sounded exactly like what Maya had been suggesting. She realized that her interference might have just destroyed a marriage that could have been saved. For the first time since discovering her ability, Maya felt truly afraid of what she had become. She had crossed a line from observer to manipulator, and the consequences were starting to catch up with her. Maya was about to learn that some powers come with a price that no one should have to pay. The parking lot argument Maya had witnessed haunted her for days. She couldn't stop thinking about how her words had pushed that husband toward ending his marriage. What had started as a fascinating ability had turned into something destructive, and Maya was finally beginning to understand the real cost of her power. Things got worse when the couple came back to the restaurant the following week. This time, they weren't together. The husband came in alone, looking tired and defeated. Maya could sense his thoughts immediately. He was thinking about divorce lawyers, about splitting up their belongings, about how to tell their children. Maya wanted to hide in the kitchen, but she couldn't avoid serving him. When she approached his table, he looked up with sad eyes and said something that made her stomach drop. He thanked her for the advice she had given him the week before. He said her words had helped him realize he needed to be honest about his feelings. Maya felt sick. She had destroyed a family, and the man was actually thanking her for it. She mumbled something about hoping things would work out and rushed away from the table. For the first time since discovering her ability, she wished she could turn it off forever. The incident forced Maya to take a hard look at what she had become. She realized that she had been treating people like characters in a game, manipulating their lives for her own entertainment. She had forgotten that these were real people with real feelings, real families. and real consequences. Maya started noticing other ways her behavior had affected people. Regular customers who used to be friendly now seemed uncomfortable around her. Her co-workers had begun avoiding her during breaks. Even her manager had started giving her strange looks when she interacted with customers. She realized that her constant mental probing had made her seem unnatural and invasive to others. People could sense that something was off about her, even if they couldn't put their finger on what it was. She had become like a vampire, feeding off people's private thoughts, while giving nothing genuine back. Maya's personal life had completely fallen apart. Her best friend Lisa had stopped calling, and Maya knew why. The last time they had hung out, Maya had made too many comments about Lisa's private thoughts and feelings. She had crossed the line from being a good friend to being creepy and invasive. Dating had become impossible. Maya would automatically start reading every guy's thoughts on the first date. She would know if they were attracted to her, if they were thinking about their ex, or if they were planning to ghost her later. The mystery and excitement of getting to know someone had been replaced by cold, hard knowledge that sucked all the joy out of romance. Maya realized that her ability had isolated her from authentic human connection. She had become so focused on knowing what people were thinking that she had forgotten how to simply be present with them. She was like someone watching a movie of life instead of actually living it. The breaking point came when Maya's sister visited for the weekend. They had always been close, but Maya found herself automatically reading her sister's thoughts during their conversations. She learned things about her sister's marriage and personal struggles that she was never meant to know. When her sister left, she gave Maya a hug that felt different, cold and distant. Maya realized that even her own family could sense that something was wrong with her. She had become someone that people instinctively wanted to avoid. That night, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She was going to learn how to control her ability, or she was going to lose everyone she cared about. She couldn't continue living as a mental voyeur, feeding off other people's private thoughts while giving nothing real back. Maya started by practicing mental discipline. She would force herself to focus on other things when she felt the urge to read someone's thoughts. She would recite song lyrics, do math problems, or concentrate on physical sensations like the feeling of her feet on the ground. It was incredibly difficult at first. The constant stream of other people's thoughts had become like background music that she didn't realize she was hearing until she tried to turn it off. Learning to tune out the mental chatter was like learning to ignore a loud radio playing in the next room. Maya also made the difficult decision to quit her job at the restaurant. She realized that the environment was too tempting for her. Being around so many people in emotional situations made it almost impossible to resist using her ability. She found a new job at a small bookstore where she could work mostly alone, organizing inventory and helping customers find books. The quieter environment made it easier for her to practice controlling her gift slowly. Maya began to rebuild her life. She reached out to Lisa and apologized for making her uncomfortable. Without explaining the real reason why, she started going to therapy, talking about feeling disconnected from others without mentioning her ability. Maya learned that true intimacy required vulnerability and trust, not perfect knowledge. She began to appreciate the beauty of not knowing everything about someone, of letting relationships develop naturally through honest communication. Rather than mental surveillance, she met someone new at a coffee shop near her apartment. This time, Maya made a conscious choice not to read his thoughts. Their conversations felt fresh and exciting because she had to actually listen to his words and pay attention to his actions to understand who he was. Maya discovered that mystery and uncertainty weren't obstacles to connection. They were essential parts of what made relationships meaningful. Not knowing what someone was thinking forced her to be present, to ask questions, and to share her own thoughts and feelings. The journey wasn't easy. Maya still felt the temptation to use her ability, especially during difficult conversations or moments of uncertainty. But she had learned that some knowledge came at a high price. The cost of knowing everyone's secrets was losing the ability to connect with anyone authentically. Maya realized that her true gift wasn't reading minds. It was learning to value the privacy and dignity of others. She had discovered that the most profound human connections happened not when you knew everything about someone, but when you chose to trust and be vulnerable despite not knowing everything. In the end, Maya found something more valuable than the ability to read minds. She found the courage to be genuinely herself with others, and the wisdom to understand that some boundaries should never be crossed. The real magic wasn't in knowing what people were thinking. It was in creating space for them to share their thoughts willingly, in their own time, in their own way.